What is up, guys? This is Nightmare, and today I am bringing you a new Stamina Nightblade build called Toxicity 2.0. Now, the old Toxicity build, the first one I released, is still usable, and the Nocturnal build is still usable. This is the Toxicity 2.0, just because I am still using Marksman, so that's how I got the first Toxicity name. Also still using Viper, but I'm changing it up a little bit with the monster set. Um, the reason why I'm releasing all these Stamina Nightblade builds is because there are lots of different combinations you can use now for Morrowind. And I just want to give you guys and my viewers more options to run your Stamina Nightblade, or in the future I will be working off of the Stamina Nightblade onto my Stamina DK, my Stamina Sorcerer, and my Stamina Templar. Also working on my Magic and Nightblade. I'm probably gonna do a video on that pretty soon since I have the gear for that, and a couple other builds. So I hope you guys enjoyed this build, so let's get right into it. First off, let's go over my gear first, since that's the biggest change for the Toxicity 2.0 build. So front bar are 2H, two-handed sword. Still running a Viper sharpened sword with a poison enchant. So the Viper set, you guys all know it and hate it, or love it. It's 2 and 4 piece weapon crit and 3 piece max stam. 5 piece is the strongest part of the set. Dealing melee damage will proc a 8k poison damage, and this can happen every 4 seconds. So this is very strong. Proc sets like Viper are especially strong in non-CP, like Battlegrounds and non-CP Cyrodiil. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, this build can be used in CP campaign. When I go over champion points, that is my new updated champion points layout for all 3 builds. The 2.0, the Toxicity, and the Nocturnal. But my first time going through champion points, I was just running through it because I'm playing lots of non-CP, but this time I took the time to do it properly and account for all the jump points. Moving down, we got our Marksman bow this time. So this is going to allow us to have a 5-piece set on one bar and another 5-piece set on the other bar with a 2-piece monster set. This is a sharpened Marksman bow with a poison enchant. This would be better with a weapon damage enchant. I just haven't taken the time to change the enchantment just because I use this bow with the poison enchant for different builds. So Marksman set. Why is Marksman so good, and why do I love it so much, and why does everybody hate me for using it or just thinks that it's garbage? Well, 2 and 3 pieces stam recovery, so that's going to give you some pretty good sustain. 4 pieces weapon damage, so we're still getting damage output with our the 4 pieces still on our 2H bar. So we're still getting that weapon damage on the 2H bar. And then the 5-piece bonus is going to give us 5% reduced cost on only the bow bar this time. It's not going to be on the 2H bar also, but we get 8% increased bow damage on the bow bar. So our poison injection, our heavy attacks, light attacks with the bow is going to get hit harder. If you didn't check out the first Toxicity build, I showed a couple of examples why this reduced cost is as strong as it is, or as I think it is, and it's stronger than what people think. So definitely go check that out in the first Toxicity build. Alright, so moving down. This is our 2-piece monster set, Selene's. So Selene's is giving us 1-piece max stam, which is good. And 2-piece, this is going to give us, every 4 seconds, we can hit a 15k bear. Hits like a freaking truck. This can usually, well, for PvP, this gets cut in half. So this can usually take out about a quarter, maybe a little bit more depending on if they're wearing light, medium, or heavy armor, a quarter of their health. And this can proc on melee damage, just like Viper, 15% of the time on melee damage. So this is still good since this procs on melee damage. The bow, when we poison injection or whatever, it won't proc the slings until we jump in with ambush and surprise attack with the Viper. So something I want to be testing here soon is, does the Viper's poison damage proc also account for, like, this says when you deal direct melee damage, does the Viper proc also have a chance to proc Selene? If so, then cool. We get even higher chance of proccing the Selenes. Also, I want to be testing, and I have a way to doing it. I'll make a build on this soon. But does the Viper set proc Adrenaline Rush from Redguard, and does it also get boosted by Orc passives, which it should, from what I've seen. The Viper 8k poison damage should get buffed by Orc's increased melee damage. Alright, so getting back to the Selene set, we got a heavy Divine's helmet. This would be better medium in-pin or medium well-fitted. And we have a medium in-pin shoulder. All these are going to be stamina enchants. I have not changed this helmet to a stamina enchant though, which I do need to do. So keep that in mind. The extra stamina will help us hit harder. And then we have a Marksman Jack, which is Divines. This would be better in-pin or well-fitted. A Viper in-pin belt. Marksman in-pin gloves. Marksman in-pin guards. And Marksman Divine boots. Again, better with well-fitted or in-pin. So usually I like, what I'm going to start playing around with actually is running 4 in-pin and 3 well-fitted. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in-pin, and then 3 divines. So the divines is going to help us hit harder, but the well-fitted is going to help us sustain better with dodge rolling and sprinting. And then our jewelry is Viper all weapon damage enchants. Since I'm in my inventory, as always, I will go over my food. So food, I love this food so much. I just think it's a lot better than this. The extra recovery is huge, and it gives 5k max health. And then the potions I'm using are these: Essence of Movability. Immune to knockback is very strong, especially in battlegrounds. And then Major Savagery, which we don't get from any abilities, so that's good to have. And then Restoring Stamina is going to help with resource management. You can also use these still. They're a little bit cheaper, but these give us Major Brutality instead of Immovability. And we already have Brutality from one of our buffs on our bar. And then SSM Speed Potions you can also use, but I rarely use these. These are good for, like, you have like a mad orc streaking away from you. You can pop one of these and catch up to them, and you don't have to dodge roll and blow off all your stamina dodge rolling to get your Major Expedition buff. So Essence of Speed Potions are also very good. Alright, so that covers my gear, potions, and food. Next, I will go over my abilities. Alright guys, so my abilities is always on a Stamina Nightblade. 2H bow setup is always the same. So if you've seen past build videos, especially the Nocturnal build goes into death very well with abilities. So if you want more explanation for the abilities I choose, definitely go check out those builds. And if you already know the abilities since you've seen past builds, then you can go ahead and skip this part. But just real quick, Ambush is my gap closer. It also empowers, so you can ambush and cap. And cap is going to get empowered, hits really hard. Surprise attacks are main spammable. This is going to give us, what's it called? Refreshing Shadows buff? No. Shadow Barrier buff. This is going to increase our spell and physical resistance, major resolve, and major ward, while also reducing the enemy's physical and spell resistance, major fracture, and major... Nope. Okay, yeah, it's just major fracture. It just reduces physical resistance. but that's still fine since all we do is physical damage anyways. Next up is our main CC, and the strongest CC in the game. CC being crowd control, if you guys were not aware of that. Crowd controlling abilities is just like a stun or something like that. A hard CC is your like stuns or fears, stuff like that. And then you give your opponent a hard CC cooldown, so they can't be hard CC'd again. Soft CCs are your like slows and roots, like Dragonite Talons, and those can be reapplied multiple times in just as fast as you can press the ability, really. So Fear is the strongest hard CC in the game for sure, just because it can hit 3 enemies. It costs Magicka, which is really good since we're a stamina build, so we're not draining our stamina to hard CC. It also inflicts minor maim, which reduces their damage done. It slows them while they're feared for 4 seconds, and it goes through block. So when you get against a heavy armor user holding block, you just hit them with the Mass Hysteria, and you just go to town on them. So Mass Hysteria is definitely a must ability. And this is on our front bar, a must on our front bar, because we don't want to gap close in on our 2H and then have to switch to the bow and then hit fear and then we go back to the 2H and then we can attack. It's just faster and more reliable to have your hard CC on your front bar. As soon as you ambush in, you can hard CC right away if you have to. So that's why that's set up there. Next up we have Reverse Slice. This is your execute slot. I put this on L1. That's just what I'm most comfortable with. But you guys can move your abilities around wherever you want. Reverse Slice. Now I go with this one just because it has the AoE splash damage. You hit a target with it, and you're going to get a huge splash in an AoE, a 5-meter radius. This is your executes you don't want to use at 50%. Even though this says it, you're usually going to hit them with this. It'll do more damage, and it's going to just out DPS your surprise attack if you hit them around 25%. If you don't want to use Reverse Slice, you can use Executioner, which does more damage, but I don't think it's really needed. Executioner's the other morph of Reverse Slice. And then you can also use Killer's Blade. I think it's a lot cheaper too. A little bit cheaper. But this does disease damage, and as you can see, it's only effective below 25% health, and then it also heals you if the target dies. But I think this does a little bit more damage, so that's why I go with Reverse Slice. Rally is our main buff. It's going to give us healing over time, as well as a burst heal, and give us Major Brutality for 20% extra weapon damage. Incapacitating Strike, very cheap, very hard hitting. It stuns, applies Major Defile, which reduces their healing done. It's just freaking OP. Every Stamina Nightblade should use this, unless you're running in a small group or a group that's very coordinated. And then in that case, you should run down and Fighters Guild instead of Flawless Dawnbreaker. You want that morphed to Smiting Dawnbreaker just because it's AoE and it hits really hard. So small group play, Smiting Dawnbreaker or Dawnbreaker of Smiting is going to help you burst down Zergs. But for solo or duo or very small group, Battlegrounds, Incapacitating Strike is good, single target. Alright, so for the bow bar, Poison Injection, this is just going to be a ranged ability to help us apply a little bit more damage before we ambush in with our gap closer. And this is a very strong dot, especially when they drop below 50%. This will start to tick harder. And once they get around 25%, this can tick on a crit for over 5k. So this is just good for applying pressure on the enemy, and it helps secure kills. Shuffle is next. This is one of our main defensive abilities. It is very expensive, however. When you are playing in Champion Point campaign, you will have your Unchained passive, so as soon as you break CC, you want to hit Shuffle or Vigor. Vigor if you need more healing, Shuffle if you're high on health already. Now, Shuffle gives us major evasion, which increases dodge chance by 15%, so we can completely negate damage without having to block or dodge roll. So let's say a match throws a 10k crystal frag your way, and it's going to hit you, pretty much almost one-shot you. That damage will completely miss you on a 15% chance, if that makes sense. It also, if you're like snared, this ability, once you press it, will give you immunity to the snare, so like a slow or whatever. And that's with each piece of medium armor. Now, if I was with 7 heavy, this would be better, but right now I have 6 medium, 1 heavy. So this would be best with 7 medium, which my Selene's helmet is heavy, like I said. I want that medium eventually. Next up we have Relentless Focus. This is another must have ability on a Stamina Nightblade. This is going to give us stamina recovery by 10%. This is a minor endurance buff. So you can stack that with major endurance, but you cannot stack it with other minor endurance buffs, if that makes sense. Also, this gives us minor berserk, which increases all of our damage done by 8%. So that is very huge, and I slot this on the back bar just because I'm mostly using it as a buff, and the stamina recovery and damage done will move over to the 2H bar also. You do not have to have this on your main bar to get these buffs. And then also, if you light attack or heavy attack 5 times while the buff is active, you can shoot a spectral bow that hits hard as fuck. Vigor is our second heal, and this one is a heal over time. Heals very strong, and then you can also combo this with Shadowy Disguise. Shadowy Disguise into Vigor, and then our Vigor will crit heal us for every tick, which is very nice. And then Shadowy Disguise is also used offensively for a guaranteed crit. So Shadowy Disguise and then heavy attack, poison injection, and your heavy attack will crit. It hits really hard. Knowing how to use your cloak on a Stamina Nightblade or a Magicka Nightblade is a big deal. It's gonna be the difference between you living or dying, or securing a kill or not. This is both used for defense and offense. Also costs Magicka, so this is our second Magicka costing ability. Our first was Mass Hysteria. And then, like I said in past build videos, you want to make sure you leave enough Magicka to use Mass Hysteria if you have to. On our bow bar, we use Flawless Dawnbreaker. I use this primarily for the increased weapon damage. Right there at the bottom, increased weapon damage by 5%. And then if we go into our Fighter's Guild passives, Slayer increases weapon damage by 3% for each Fighter's Guild ability slotted. So on our bow bar, we get 8% increased weapon damage, 5% there, and then 3% from Fighter's Guild passives. If you don't want the increased weapon damage, you can slot Meteor. But as a Stamina Nightblade, you're going to be using your end cap primarily anyways, and you will find yourself not using Meteor that often. So I just wanted a ultimate ability that is just going to buff my damage output. Alright, so that's my abilities. Now I'm going to go over my stat sheet here real quick. Buffed up. This is with champion points. On my bow bar, fully buffed, I have 2225 stam recovery, 3057 weapon damage, 55% crit, 27,000 max stam, and 17.7 thousand health, with 2,000 crit resistance. This is, again, with champion points. If we look on our 2H bar, Stamina recovery is still 2200. Weapon damage goes up to 3191. And max stamina is still 27,000. Our max health goes up to 18,000. The reason for why our max health went up is we have shadow abilities on our 2H bar. And Shadow Dark Vigor increases max health by 3% for each shadow ability slotted. We have 2, so we get 16% total. There's 1 here and 2 there. And then we have 1 on the bow bar, Shadowy Disguise, so we get 3% on the bow bar. Alright, so I've been not going over passives in the past few build videos, so let me do that real quick. Take all those, take all these, take all those. I really shouldn't explain it. They're all important. 2H passives, take all those too. They're all important. You got Forceful. This increases your light attack damage. This is going to increase your damage done with swords. Reduce cost. Increase your stamina recovery after executing. Or this is increased stamina recovery after executing. And then heavy attacks will increase damage done. Bow, you're taking all these also. Every passive you think is important to your build, you need to take it. Okay? That's all I have to say. But, medium armor. Take all these too. You're wearing medium armor. You should have all of them. And if you do continue to run a heavy helmet, you can use Juggernaut. And then take these if you want. But Juggernaut's the most important. If you choose to wear a light shoulder and use 511 setup and get your Undaunted passives, you can have increased magic recovery, increased magicka or reduced magicka cost. And so these two are going to be important if you're going to wear one light piece. That's going to just help you sustain to cast more cloaks or cast more fears. But remember, every time you take off a piece of medium armor, you're going to lose stamina sustain. We are a vampire, so supernatural recovery gives us increased sustain, and then Undeath and Darkstalker are all important for me. And then, like I said, if you're 511, take your Undaunted passives. That's your reason for going 511. If you haven't done any Undaunted, any dungeons, and you've only done PvP, I highly recommend forgetting about 5 medium, 1 light, 1 heavy, and just go 7 medium. You're gonna get the most benefit from it. Mages Guilds, I was using Radiant Mage Light last patch to empower my heavy attack, but they reduced the damage on your heavy attacks. So I don't really do that anymore, just because it doesn't hit as hard. Fighters Guild passives, you need your Slayer. Banish the Wicked is going to give you increased ultimate. This is really fun, or very strong, excuse me, for sewer runs. Since everything down there is Daedra or Undead, you get tons of ultimates. And then also if you kill a vampire or a werewolf in PvP, you'll get increased ultimate gains. Assault, continuous attack. This is going to, after taking a resource, you get increased recovery and increased damage done, I believe. Yes, increased weapon damage by 10%. Reach is also good for our bow. Increased our range on attacks. Near a keep, of course. And then Combat Frenzy. Whenever you kill an opponent, you get 20 more ultimate. So that's just going to allow us to get our caps even faster. Racial choices. Alright, so like I said in the beginning of the video, I wanted to test some things with the Viper set. So, right now I'm a Khajiit. I like Khajiit because it gives me 10% stamina recovery, stealthy bonus, and carnage for weapon crit. I like the weapon crit and stealthy, and the 10% extra stamina recovery is decent. You can also go Wood Elf. Wood Elf is going to give you even more recovery, so better sustain. It's going to give you the stealthy bonus, which is the same. And you're also getting max stamina. So Wood Elf is also a good choice. Now, the two racial choices that I need to test to see if Viper would be good on them or not, or whatever, you get what I'm trying to say, is Redguard. So Redguard has its Adrenaline Rush, which whenever you do melee damage, you get to restore stamina. So if Viper can proc that, Redguard would be also very strong choice. And Redguard in general is going to give you 10% Um, 10% max stam. I believe it's 10 or 20% stam recovery. Yeah, 10% stam recovery, and then the adrenaline rush. So Redguard's going to be really good for sustain. Orc is another good choice for a Nightblade. If you have an Orc Nightblade, this would be a build for you with Viper. And Celine's should also account for that too, with being melee damage. And if Viper and Celine's counts as melee damage, then that will hit even harder on an Orc. Alchemy, we have our chemist or medicinal use, so potions will overlap pretty much. So that is going to cover the passives and abilities. So yeah, next off, let me go through my champion points. Alright guys, so let me go over my champion points real quick for you. Since this build can be used for both CP and non-CP, and I have addressed the champion points for jump points. So this is my new champion point layout. And this will apply to my other two Stamina Nightblade builds, like I said in the past. So 64 into Mighty. Now this account's really good for jump points because it gets me to 13.01, so I'm only losing 0.01%. So that's a very good number to have into Mighty. 64. 34 into Piercing for extra physical penetration. 2,980, a good number for me. Precise Strikes, I got 37. This is going to give me 15% increased crit damage. The 0.1% is lost, but again, that's not too bad. 13 at the Thermometers, that's just going to help my dot from poison injection, so 6% there. And then Master at Arms is another big bonus you want to put into for an extra 19% damage done on direct damage abilities. Now let me go back real quick. Ambush, Surprise Attack, Executioner, or Reverse Slice, and the initial hit on Poison Injection are all direct damage abilities. All of those will get buffed by your Master at Arms. 19% is huge. I'm getting 13 from Mighty, 19% from Master at Arms. And then the rest I threw into Blessed for 3% extra healing done, so my Rally and Vigor just heals me just a little bit more. 19 into Shade, 12% reduced cost on Sneak. 20 into Tumbling, 9% reduced dodge roll cost. I like this just because Nightblade, you're stealthing quite a bit, so you're not going to run out of stamina quite as often. And then Tumbling, medium armor, your main source of evading damage is dodge rolling and line of sighting. Getting away fast, you understand if you play lots of medium armor builds, so dodge rolling is important, so reduced cost. 56 tenacity, 12% increased resource return on heavy attack, 64 mooncalf, 13.01 stam recovery, another really good number to get to for that 13%. Not much points are wasted here. 27 Siphoner. Now this is like a built-in poison into your champion points. This is going to reduce your enemy's stamina or magic recovery on light or heavy attacks. And since we light attack animation cancel in between everything, Siphoner is going to be up quite a lot of the time. 20 into Warlord, 9% increase or reduced cost on break free. Very good whenever we get stunned or feared or whatever. This is going to help us not burn through our stamina as much when we break free. 37 into quick recovery. This is just going to help me get even more healing received from my own heals and if I have a healer on my team. So this just helps me stay alive a little bit better. 50 Hardy, 50 Elemental Defender, 11% across the board reduced damage. 23 into Thick Skin for 10% reduced damage from dots. Important here is the Unchained passive. Like I said, after you break free, you want to cast your most expensive stamina cost ability. It's pretty much going to be free, so break free, shuffle, or break free, vigor. It's something you want to try to remember, although it can be hard at times. And then 30 into resistance for 1,000 crit resistance, which is good. 12 Ironclad reduces the damage taken from direct damage abilities by 5%. So there's a lot of direct damage, so we try to get a little bit more reduced damage on that. So yeah, that's my new champion point layout for Toxicity 2.0, Toxicity, and Nocturnal. Alright guys, so one more time I'm going to show my buff stats. This is NCP campaign, or with CP, I mean, not CP campaign. So if I can bar swap, Rally, Relentless Focus, go to Character, on the bow bar, 3k weapon damage, 2200 SAM recovery, 55% weapon crit, 2k crit resistance, 27,000 max stam. In Cyrodiil, we get an extra 5,000 max health. So remember that. We have roughly 22,000 max health on the bow bar. Switching over to the 2H bar, 2200 stam recovery, almost 3200 weapon damage. Weapon damage is not a focus with this build. We have 2 proc sets, 52 weapon crit, 2000 crit resistance, and about 23,000 max health in Cyrodiil. So let me go into a non-CP campaign real quick and show you my buff stats in there. Alright guys, so I'm in a non-CP campaign now. This is... let me show you any active buffs. Oh, we actually have Emperorship. Wow, okay. So, I have Emperorship. This is not going to be a good example of my max stats, but... alright, so I'm going to have a little bit of extra health because of Emperorship. Weapon damage is going to be higher, so we won't really look at that. That will be the same as in CP. And our armor. Okay, so... really the only thing that's going to change is the health. So on the bow bar, stam recovery is now at 2,000. Ignore the weapon damage. 43% weapon crit. And then ignore the health, that's slightly too high also by about 2,000. And then max stam is about 23,000. Crit resistance goes down to 1,000. On the 2H bar, 2,000 stam recovery again, 40% weapon crit, and about 23,000 max stam. So I just wanted to show what my stam recovery looks like in non-CP, and my crit resistance looks like in non-CP. That was my main goal. Alright guys, so that's going to cover the Toxicity 2.0 builds for Morrowind. If you guys like the builds, please like. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. If you like my builds, and if you're looking forward to new builds, please subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I have a lot of builds coming up. I'm almost finished farming sets, so make sure you subscribe to be up to date on any of those builds. So I will see you guys next time.